What's going on, everybody? This is Moose and Brian here from OccupyFantasy.com, at OccupyFantasy on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. If we're on it, if you have it, we're probably on it. So I'm Moose, co-founder and data guru here at OccupyFantasy.com, at CFB_Moose on Twitter is where you can find me. Here with Brian, co-founder, CEO, and my brother, and GPP casher for preseason. I guess we both have that title now. What's up, Brian? How's it going?
What's up, Moose? You know what? It's another preseason slate. There's only 2 left, but more importantly, the ATM is back tonight.
Oh, really?
Who's playing? Who's Washington playing tonight?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What was the question?
Who is Washington playing tonight?
Oh my goodness! Don't tempt me. They're playing the Ravens. They're playing the Ravens, man. It's so funny. There's a Slack message in the Occupy Company Slack from 2019 that says just bet Ravens money line, and
you gotta keep doing 20, going for 23 in a row, which is insane.
Yeah, and no, like I literally just like max bet. I've max bet the Ravens every preseason game thus far. Don't know how I've gotten cut off yet.
That's what you need to do. Literally just bet it, print money, use that money to enter GPPs, and just free roll it every single Baltimore slate.
Pretty much, yeah. So, but no, that game was actually pretty interesting. And so for those who are just joining in, we're going to break down the slate for DraftKings and FanDuel. If you have questions, we're going to be a little bit more open. Big boss Brian said we can be a little bit more open this slate. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask. Brian, we'll just start it off right now, and I'll ask you, since we're talking about that game. The website's up with the notes, as you see here. Andy Isabella, the cover boy. But one person that is not really gaining much traction is from that Washington game, Sam Howell. He's one of our top low-risk plays for quarterback. You want to talk about him for a little bit?
I will. It's funny because I got off the phone with our dad, who is a diehard Washington fan, and we were just talking today about random things, and you know how he listens to Washington sports radio.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, Sam Howell's gonna play a lot tonight." And I was like, "Oh, let me just." This was before we got to the Washington section of the plug earlier this morning. But then you look into it, and Ron Rivera says the starters are going to play very, very, very minimally. He was like very adamant about the word "very." I'd be surprised if they play, but even if they do, Carson Wentz might see like a series. They only have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Taylor Heineke didn't play in preseason week 3 last year, and John Keim, ESPN reporter, said Heineke won't play. So if that's the case, we just do a little bit of math here. That means like 3.5 quarters, maybe 4 quarters of Sam Howell. I'm kind of hoping Wentz starts because the industry won't be on it. If we get word that Sam Howell starts, then everyone just deduces, oh, he's playing the entire game, and they'll play him.
Yeah.
But if we get word that Wentz starts, I mean, either way, Howell's in line for at least 3 quarters. And at worst case, even if we're wrong and Heineke does play, it's at worst case a half, which is like in line with every other quarterback on the slate.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it before. Howell's got a tiny bit of rushing upside, which is always good in preseason, where you just need like 6 points to get your cash in.
Yeah.
So, he's definitely one of our favorite plays, and especially even for single entry, for mass multi entry, he's someone I'm starting my lineups with. What's up, T Nasty in the chat here? Says what's good. Witty says, hey, I signed up for the website yesterday. Thanks for helping me win some money. We didn't pay him to say that. He actually won some money yesterday. So
Free testimonial. Thank you, Witty. And shout out to T Nasty too, who took down an MLB contest the other day. So shout out to T Nasty. I know he's been grinding hard, especially in the mass multi entry. So shout out to him, and yeah, let's keep it rolling tonight.
Definitely. So. Brian, I know we said we're going to be a little bit more open about this, so I don't know how you want to take this. Do we want to just start by positions? Do we want to talk about some different teams, some high-level stuff? I guess we can talk about Andy Isabella, cover boy, the Arizona wide receivers.
Yes, we can, but I think just really quickly, because it is 5 o'clock and the FanDuel slate starts at 6, we should probably talk about that first, because that Rams game is on the slate on FanDuel. And if you've been playing preseason for the last couple of weeks, you know how important the Rams games are. Bryce Perkins is going to start at quarterback. Going to play the entire game. John Walford broke his fingernail or something. He's not going to play. So we get So Bryce Perkins gets an entire game at quarterback. That pretty much makes him the top quarterback over on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Check out the notes in Discord. Our guy Brandon broke down the early slates, and running back Trey Ragas, former Raider, they're going to give him a ton of carries for the Rams, and the Rams are going to play their same guys at receiver: McCutcheon, Akers, Trammell, the same guys that they've been playing. So tons of great plays on the Rams side. So if you are playing on FanDuel over there, just note that that's where those guys would slot in. They'd be top plays, top low risk plays in the plug.
Yeah, McCutcheon had almost like 100 air yards last game. Played like 90% of snaps. Absolutely fantastic pairing.
Yeah,
I'll see
yeah. I mean, the playing time's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts for preseason. I don't know. Does FanDuel have a showdown for that game? I don't know. I didn't see.
Let me double check here while we move on to the next. I'll take a look here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and it goes to show that, Brian, I'll ask you this: like, we see, we talked about not necessarily huge stacking in preseason. We talked about it before. You shouldn't be stacking with guys always coming in and out, quarterbacks playing not the whole game. But I think in this case, where if you have a quarterback playing the whole game and wide receivers are playing 70, 80, sometimes 90% of the game, it's okay to play 2-3 wide receivers with them.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, right? So there are a couple scenarios when you want to stack in preseason. That's when guys who are going to play with specific units and we have specific playing time, right? Like Tyler Huntley is going to play the first half probably, right? And we know which receivers have been playing in the first half of the Ravens. You can stack Tyler Huntley with those guys. Sam Howell going to play the entire game. It's a little tricky, but we think we've pinpointed a couple of receivers that should play more than half the snaps. You can stack him there. But it's like Drew Lock yesterday is the big one, where Drew Lock was going to play 3 quarters, but they were literally going to rotate in like 12 receivers. Mm-hmm. And if you want to play Drew Lock, you can just play him, right? Because the odds of you picking out which receiver is going to hit of those 12, plus including the tight ends, is pretty minimal. And you don't even need to do that when it's only, there's not that many people in a preseason GPP, right? It's not like week 1 NFL, 100,000 people. You have to get the receiver rate. You don't have to be perfect in preseason. So just keep an eye on that. And I wouldn't fault anyone if they wanted to play Sam Howell, for example, if we find out he's playing the whole game and not stack him. I would be totally fine with that.
Makes sense to me. Yeah. I think we got a new subscriber. That doesn't show up in the chat, but thank you to whoever's just subscribed. Thank you for that.
Austin. Shout out to Austin.
Shout out Austin. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much the thing. If you're playing FanDuel, just absolutely hammer every single Rams player ever. Just that. Yeah, I mean, anything on the Bengals side that sticks out to you, since that's who the Rams are playing?
It sounds like they're going to, and again, I'm going on Brandon's notes here. It sounds like they're going to split a half of work with their 2 quarterbacks. They released their quarterback 4, so he's not going to play. The running back situation is going to be pretty much the same. The receiver situation. So just look at the data tables, the preseason snap and air yards tables on the site, and you'll get a good idea there. But it's just the Rams that are the great plays from that game. But I will say this, I'll say this because we look at the Arizona guys tonight. We look at the Rams guys who play on the FanDuel slate. Mm-hmm. And the question is, how do they fail if they're playing most of the game? Well, that question was answered just last night, right? Because everyone lined up to play the New England receivers, as they should have. They were going to play 50, 70% of the snaps, whatever it was. They ended up playing a little less than we thought because they just ran out their starters for no reason. But we see, unless there's literally no one available, that there's still a downside that these guys might not play as much as they have in the first 2 games. Or they might not play because the Rams have 5 receivers, right? Maybe they play the other 2 guys a little more, right? We don't know that for sure. Same with the Cardinals receivers. They have 2 or 3 other receivers. Maybe they play those guys, right? So in high risk contests, we're talking the biggest GPPs. That's when it makes sense to pivot away from some of those guys, and whether it's not playing them at all or playing just one of them as opposed to playing like 3 or 4, that's really the strategy when it comes to those larger contests.
Absolutely, it's different than, for example, with Perkins, where he's literally like the only person on the
roster.
Right,
so, right, exactly.
So, yeah. And Brian, of course, the moment you fade an 80% quarterback, like it is in college football today, you fade an 80% quarterback and he's just like scores 60 points. So,
well, we talked about it last week, right? It was like quarterback usually doesn't win or lose you a preseason slate, but it could today when there may be multiple guys playing a full game. And if you don't get 15 plus points and your guy only gets 6, then that's when the line starts to be drawn.
Exactly. Yep. So, so if you have any more questions about that particular game, you can check out the Discord notes or just ask us here. We'll be there. But yeah, let's go on to the next topic. Brian, what do you want to talk about?
I guess let's talk about running back a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't know if it's just me, Moose, but it feels like there haven't been that many great running back plays this entire preseason. I feel
Yeah.
like last year we were saying flex a running back. My win last year and the year before we're running back in the flex. It just feels like teams are splitting more. Maybe there aren't as many injuries. It feels like across the league there aren't as many injuries. But even tonight we have one guy we really like, another guy we pretty much like, and then after that it's still like 3 guys per team. So um, I think it's especially with so many different good receivers playing tonight. I do think it's a wide receiver in the flex type of night.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing with all my lineups, and I want to run a theory by you, see what you think about this. Do you think that like running back could be the position where you eat the chalk, where it's so hard to find a running back that's going to get you 6, 10, 12 points that if that chalk busts, it's very hard. It's hard enough to find the good. Like so we have what 1, 2, 3 running backs listed in low risk, but like 15 in high risk. Do you just take a dart and pick one of the high risk running backs, or do you kind of maybe just eat some chalk and hope that if he fails, everywhere else goes well?
So the one guy I really like, we put him in our favorite plays, is Keontae Ingram for Arizona. And I think the industry has picked up on this, so he should be pretty popular. But James Conner's not going to play. Darrell Williams hasn't played much this preseason. I can't imagine he plays much as they continue to rest most of their guys, and he's a veteran. Benjamin maybe gets a lot of work. We'll see. He's their number 3 back. I would be surprised. But Jonathan Ward is their 4th back, and he hurt his shoulder last game. He didn't practice all week, so he's probably not going to play. So that leaves just Keontae Ingram there for Arizona to get most of the snaps. And I'm checking one more thing here, but let me see here, because they released TJ Pledger, who got some snaps last week as well. So it's literally just Benjamin and and Keontae Ingram. And I would imagine, based on roster standings, that Ingram plays more than Eno. So, give me Keontae Ingram. If I was going to eat the chalk with someone, it would be him because there's a chance he plays like 3/4. But some of these other guys we're not entirely sure about. That's where I would get different.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, so it seems like if you're a bettor, it sounds like Arizona money line is where the move is tonight.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? It's so different because we like all these guys because they're going to play, but like they also probably suck. So do we want to bet them as well? I don't know.
Just parlay them with the Ravens.
There you go.
Don't at me when they lose. Yeah. So we talked about overall the Arizona wide receivers. Isabella's the cover boy. Anyone else there that stands out from you that you're rotating in some of your lineups?
I mean, they're basically just take what the Rams are doing, and they're basically is what the Cardinals are doing. I mean, I don't get it, most. Like, I love Andy Isabella. Something about him, the coaching staff just doesn't like. Because anytime the dude plays, whether it's preseason or in regular season, he's productive. So he must either not know the playbook or just fucks up a lot. I don't know. But like the staff literally hates him despite drafting him. So either way, with that said, he's gonna play 1,000,000 snaps tonight. Him, Greg Dortch, Victor Bolden of USFL, they played 1,000,000 snaps last time. They're going to play 1,000,000 snaps tonight, probably. And they only have 2 other guys behind them. So it's really just 5 receivers that are going to play. We do have to check to make sure one guy is confirmed out in pregame warmups. But Isabella, 84% of the snaps last week. Greg Dortch, 78%. Bolden, 62%. You look at air yards through 2 weeks. Isabella has over 200 air yards. Dortch has 100. Bolden has 100, despite really not playing much in the first week. Then they got 2 other guys, Kirkland and Peyton, who are going to play most of the second half. And everyone's going to play Isabella, Dortch, Bolden, rightfully so based on what they've done. But Moose, an easy pivot, if you're looking, is like, all right, I'll just play the second half receivers, who might play a little bit less, but should see some opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect strategy, and probably something that I'll be doing in my one lineup. If we're looking at high risk, I'm just looking at some of the plays here, and we do have him marked as a good captain spot for the single game. The Tampa Bay Indianapolis single game is Desmond Patman. Played the most snaps of any wide receiver for the Colts last week. Is he someone that's standing out to you?
Yeah, in single game especially. But it sounds like the Colts are going to play their starters at least a quarter. I don't think Michael Pittman's going to play at receiver, but their starters are going to play a quarter, and Foles is going to play, and Sam Ellinger is going to play. And they have a decent amount of receivers. And this is a situation where if you just look at who's available on the roster, you might not be inclined to play really anyone from that group. But looking at trends, as we love to do, Frank Reich loves playing the same receivers the most snaps in every single week of the preseason. So we should see Desmond Patton and Mike Strawn play 50% of the snaps, regardless of how much the starters play. So Patman has been productive in the preseason before, has been getting targeted when he's on the field this year. So Patman, even on the classic slate, is a good high-risk wide receiver play.
Yeah, definitely. And we need some prize picks for number of snaps instead of like points, air yards.
We would crush those.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. You're just rooting at the top of your lungs. Give one more snap.
Yeah, get on the field.
Yeah. Cool. So we talked about some wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. We can switch it over to tight end. Again, if you guys have any questions, definitely go ahead and ask. We're here for a couple more minutes or so as we just finish breaking down everything. Tight ends, we only have a limited number of tight ends. And two-part question, Brian. What's your current tight end strategy, or what would you recommend for tight end strategy tonight? And then for someone who's doing multiple entries, like you, how are you doing tight ends? Are you rotating a lot of them, or are you just kind of just picking a hand, 1, 2, rolling with them? Kind of talk to me about that.
No, I'm definitely, to answer your second part first, I'm definitely just rotating more of them in, right? Because tight ends are generally not going to kill you unless what the top tight end on today's slate did last slate. Generally, they're going to score like 0 to 10 points. And really, I want to give myself as many chances at that 10-point tight end as I can. So I'll rotate him in. And we have a decent amount listed tonight. And some of those guys are going to be like 5% because the top guy is going to be like 40 or 50%. And that's Isaiah Likely. Dude had 100 yards and a touchdown in the first half last week on national TV, mind you. Yeah. Everyone's adding him in season-long leagues despite being the number 2 tight end in the real offense. And everyone's going to play him. But let's think about it for a sec. He only played like 15 snaps. Like, he got targeted on basically every route he ran. It was insanity. So, if that happens again, there are 2 ways he fails. 1, he just doesn't fucking get 100 yards on 15 snaps again, which is very likely. 2, because he's done so well, and if he's going to be a part of the offense, maybe they don't play him much or at all, right? Like, that's a possibility, even though he's a rookie and he needs snaps. Maybe that's a possibility. So, I mean, I think in low-risk contests, you just play him just to block because, God forbid, he gets a few catches again. He probably buries you at 50% ownership in low-risk contests or small field. But high-risk contests, right? Like, if he's going to be that highly owned, just play one of the other Ravens receivers or literally any of these other guys and pray that he doesn't repeat last week. And as long as he doesn't, you'll be fine. And I think it's the biggest leverage you could possibly have.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I'll be watching that game just because it is on local channel. And it's going to be – I'm just going to absolute tilt. I'm going to throw my water bottle at the TV when first play is just him running vertical.
It's like, dude, God, why you game planning, scheming targets for Likely in the preseason, dude? Like, come on. That's why they've won 23 straight preseason games.
Yeah, they give no mercy. Corey says favorite running back on the slate. We did talk about him. Arizona running back. Where is his name? What's his name?
Keontae Ingram.
Keontae Ingram. Yeah.
But I will say that he's our favorite play now. It's 520. Very decent chance that could change with pregame news. We saw yesterday pregame news changed. In fact, we put in the Discord, Will Greer. That news came pre-lock, and I think the dude who won the GPP wasn't in our Discord, but he had Will Greer in his lineup at 4% owned. So it goes to show the importance of pregame news, especially in week 3 when teams start resting more and more guys. So as of now, Keontae Ingram's a good play. I don't think that'll change, but maybe someone overtakes him if like there's only 2 other running backs on another team. So I would just say make sure you're reading the daily plug, which Moose has on screen.
Definitely.
Up to lock.
Yes, definitely. If you are a member, check out the Discord as well. It's hard to update the site within 30 seconds if there's a tweet, and we just go ahead and we'll put it in Discord, talk to you all about it, retweet it as well. So follow us on Twitter if you're not a member, not for the memes, for the NFL news. And Woody says the Discord link isn't working. You want to go ahead and resend it to him?
Who's this? Woody. Woody, send us an email or a DM on Twitter, and we'll get you helped out.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, so just DM us on Twitter. Brian will get you the link, direct link for it.
I'll put it in the chat here too, just in case.
Okie doke. Cool. So, and I guess last position that we haven't really talked about. Defense, I guess, play Baltimore because they win every game.
Because they actually try.
Yeah, they actually try. And I mean, honestly, I think just pick some. And I think this is definitely some more, probably the best position where you get, maybe other than tight end, is fading chalk. Just pick some defense and hope you don't get 2 defensive touchdowns against you.
Yes, easily, right? And I think like you're playing on FanDuel, if you play the Bengals defense, no one's gonna play them because everyone's playing Perkins, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting play. Playing against the popular quarterback's an interesting high risk play. I think the field is just basically just looking at the spreads and playing it that way. And there's been some slates where they've absolutely smashed, so that's been kind of shitty. But dude, there's a sick spam tweet going or message going on in the chat right now.
Oh, nice. So
What are they about to spell out?
They just say they just say some website. So I'm gonna go ahead and put user in timeout. Cool.
Sir.
GG. And I will go ahead and report him as well. Perfect. All right, cool. So don't spam our channel or you get wrecked. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. A couple more minutes left, Brian, before we get up out of here. Any last lingering thoughts, comments, concerns, or anything you want to say?
I can't say enough that you have to keep checking the plug in Discord up until lock, right? The plug it was posted about 20 minutes ago, has our top plays now. It's gonna change, right? It's gonna change. So that's why I don't mind giving away information on streamer because no doubt that things are gonna change in the next hour or so. The builder's up and running and loaded. Build up to 300 lineups using our top plays. The top plays are loaded in the builder already for you. I mean, we make it just as easy as possible to build 150 preseason lineups. So.
Yeah. David also in the chat here says, "What's up, boys? Y'all got me some nice dubs last weekend." So, good job, David.
I mean, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too hard, but we should because we put in a shit ton of work here. But we got 5 people working on preseason stuff, and we had a message in Discord this morning. Someone said, "I wish preseason never ended." I feel the same way, honestly.
Yeah.
Aside from like bleeding out of my eyes every weekend from doing notes and stuff, but the ROI is through the roofs. Obviously, we'd love to have this every week.
Yeah, I mean, we even got our dad listening like 12 hours of the Commander's radio show for help. So,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. David says top snap count wide receivers, and Chris also says Howell starting for.
Oh, devastating. I mean, that's good, right? But just know that we were on it first, right? Not that that matters for anything, but like we called it, we were the first. He's gonna be probably popular now. Everyone's gonna recognize it, which is annoying.
Yeah.
Super annoying. But I would say, so playing on FanDuel, I would play Howe in high risk contests. Everyone's gonna play Perkins. I would play Howe. It's a great pivot. But that just confirms our play that Howe's gonna play the whole game, and is a great quarterback play. To answer David's question, top snap count receivers. It's likely going to it's going to be the Rams guys if you're playing on FanDuel, but it's going to be the Arizona receivers too: Isabella, Dortch, Bolden. Minnesota receivers will compete with that. BC Johnson, Smith, Marset, probably a little more than half the game. But yeah, it's the usual suspects, same as last week.
Makes sense. And yeah, I was speaking about the how we just need to have like an NFL rumors Twitter account that we make, and we just use our like notes to rumor what's going to happen. How's going to start and play the whole game.
I know, but do the opposite. Carson Wentz is going to play the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Davis says, appreciate your eye bleeding work. Yeah, it's definitely chaos like every time when we do this preseason. I wish they went back to 4 games.
I know, man. I know.
Maybe not me manually doing air yards from PDFs, the NFL PDFs. I don't miss doing an extra week of that.
Yeah, thankfully we got all that automated. And again, most of you can bring it up on screen really quickly so we can show people before we get out of here.
Yeah.
If you want to do the research yourself, this is up every preseason we have it. You can look at snap counts for offensive players for this year, the first 2 weeks, but also previous years to see what coaches typically do each week of preseason. That's how we get all of our trends. And they're pretty accurate. And no other site talks about it, right? Every other site says, oh, this guy did this last week. No one talks about what they did in preseason the week 3 the year before, which is how we get all of our edges for preseason playing time. Then if you want to know, all right, how many opportunities does this guy get? Targets plus carries. You can check that out for each week of this preseason. And then you want targets and air yards. Nobody out there has targets and air yards. Some people have targets, but nobody has air yards. And you can sort all that by team, by week, by position. So you want to do your own research. You read the plug. You're like, oh, let me look at this guy a little bit more. You can check everything out in the research dashboard here on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as you see, showing my fandom, talked about some snap counts for Cincinnati wide receivers, target share, air yards, average depth of target. Same thing with opportunities. We'll just pull it up here one more time so I can show Cincinnati. And Woody says he's not a yearly member, but still DM us. Well, if you are a member, I believe, and we'll go ahead and get you the link.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And then opportunities is rush attempts, targets, plus rush attempts and pass attempts for quarterbacks. So
exactly. So everything you need. There's a reason why we crush preseason every year. It's because we have all the data, we have all the trends, we put the work in, and we're here to help. So
yeah,
one more slate, Moose. One more slate tomorrow. That's it.
Yes. And when David says, when y'all blow up, just don't lose the personal touch you give us plebes here in chat. No, we'll still show whether we have no subs or 500 million subs. We'll still have that personal touch. It just means our eyes bleed a little bit more.
No, we got 40. We got 40 people watching now, which is more than we had before David said that, and I've already figured out who he is.
Nice. Last question. Paco says, "Do you like a half of Mooney?"
Yeah, Bear starters should play a half. I have a feeling that Mooney might not play the entire half, but again, a quarter, 2-3 drives of Mooney, and he got targeted heavily when they played just a series or two last week. Mooney could outscore a lot of guys, right? Because, we're looking at a quarter of a starter is probably better than like 3/4 of some of these absolute scrubs. So yeah, I think high risk contest, I think Mooney's a pretty good play.
Sounds like a plan to me. So, any last thoughts, comments, concerns before I take us out of here, Brian?
For the 100th time, just check the plug through lock. That's the only thing I can tell people because it's going to change.
Yep. So, yeah, you pretty much hit it all on there. If you have any more questions, occupyfantasy.com/discord. Go ahead and check that out. Our Discord page. Follow us on Twitter, and let's have one good. I guess tomorrow too, but let's crush this final big preseason opportunity. Until next time, I'm Moose alongside Brian from OccupyFantasy.com. Have a good night.
Good luck.